Action 1, inspiring action.
You're tuned into the all-new Action 1 Network. Turn up your volume.
Boom. Okay. Guess what? This is Shinga. You're listening to SG2 on Space, episode number 56. So this is going to be the last episode of the year 2019 according to the Gregorian calendar, which is completely made up, you know, but most people in this world seem to follow it. So that's, yeah, but just let you guys know, not going to be here next week if you're listening live. So next Thursday is the 26th, which is the day after Christmas, which I'm sure most people are having good times with their family or whatnot, loved ones, or doing something interesting. So in any case, that all aside, hopefully you're watching me on either facebook.com/The Shen Show or on YouTube. And of course, you can, on YouTube, it would be SG2 on Space, episode number 56. The title right now just says Dreaming, but I'll get to that in a little bit, what we're talking about. So also, of course, support me on patreon.com. That's patreon.com/SG2 on Space, spelled exactly as it sounds. The letter G, then 2, number 2. On Space. You got $5 for asteroid level, $5 a month, moon level, $10 a month, and Earth level, $30 a month. For the Earth level, you can put up an ad. So instead of watching your, I don't know, whatever ads on here, you can talk about whatever you're interested in. You know, you get your presence out there. So it's good, right? Okay. So if you like the show, support me. If you want to get your word out, support me so you can have a segment on the show. So patreon.com/SG2 on Space. All right. So with that whole spiel, so reason I said dreaming is because I wanted to have a conversation with my very eccentric person who Leonard. I call him a friend. He's a very interesting guy. So I'm going to have him on, and we're going to talk about, you know, the things that he, and me as well. So I've noticed we talk about facts a lot, right? You know, like what's going on in the space world today. You know, this company sent off this rocket ship. You know, the astronomers made these discoveries, which is all very interesting. But let's take a step and think about what people have thought about the future to be like. So one reason that I got into science, me personally, besides reading astronomy books when I was a kid, is actually reading science fiction. So admittedly, I'm a huge fan of that, and I still am. And I think I may read more of that in my free time than actual science. Sorry, that's just the truth. I get sucked into it. So, and I'm not just saying reading, I like watching stuff too as well. So, stemming from back in the early 20th century to now, there's been a lot, right? People's perceptions of what the future should be like, the popular media, entertainment, how they portray space, it's all changed. So we're talking about that, not necessarily everything. Just want to have a conversation with him, right? So, in any case, I also wanted to, wrote a poem last night a little bit, modified one actually, and I figured I will, why not,
Gonna give him something new.
I'm going to give a modified version of something.
Okay. Okay.
So, I'll read this, and then I guess we can maybe, I suppose we'll take a break or something, and then get Leonard on. All right, so let me just start. All right, here we go. An alchemized moment. Breathe in this crisp, flavorless air. Lean back, see a pearly whiteness embedded on azure permanence. Lightly dusted golden thoughts drift. Choir of weighty voices lift. Life, you see, carries marvelous simplicity. Concrete complications are pale shadows. Artificial fields to confine these photonic dreams from life's fountains. Such ancient particles are meant to fly free, meant to be more than just seen. Drink them and simply glow, brighter than the streaming sunlight. Just absorb the stream of life. All right, so not sure what to call this. Maybe I think of a better name than what I have right now. But hopefully you got the point of that poem. Obviously, it's up to your interpretation. Point is, it might take, we make things too complicated. Life should be simple, right? Pursue your dreams, da-da-da. Okay, it sounds all cliched, but I stuck it together in a bunch of poetic words. So that's what it's at. All right. And how does this relate to what we're going to talk about? Well, when you think about it, science fiction or whatnot, people had to have imagination, right? They thought about the future. They had dreams, not just dreams about themselves, but dreams about what the future could be like, right? So, and some of them may be more realistic than others, but hey, it's good to have that level of imagination, because otherwise we're just going to be stuck doing the same things that we do every day, not seeing what could be, right? So, with that, let's take maybe we can take a short break. We'll come back, get Leonard on the line, and then we can get ahead with the show.
Some of the other things you got going on.
Absolutely. So thank you for having me. I feel like I'm in the presence of like celebrity.
It's just the shades, man. Shades.
So I think like 2000.
Okay, we are back. You are listening to SG2 on Space, episode number 56, where we're talking about dreams or dreaming. So hopefully you're watching me at facebook.com/The Shen Show or on YouTube, SG2 on Space. And if you want to interact with me live, by the way, you can go on YouTube, SG2 on Space, episode 56. And there's a chat box, which I'm looking at. So, Okay, let's see. Do we have Leonard on?
Yes, I think I'm on.
I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. That's all I need. All right. So, Leonard, good to hear your voice. And you've been on this so many times now that you're probably familiar. So, for any new listeners out there, Leonard's an aerospace engineer who has a physics PhD from Rice and paints interesting pictures and does other cool stuff in his free time. So, it's interesting you brought up this topic, or rather, I don't know if I brought it up or whatnot. So, let me ask you this, Leonard. In terms of science fiction, what appeals to you? Like, why do you find that appealing? I explained my rationale. What do you think?
Yeah. I think I like science fiction that looks at the future, that tells a story about what the future is going to be like. So obviously Star Trek is a contemporary or perennial favorite of a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like H.G. Wells, looking his view of the future, looking at it from the 19th century, I think is interesting, and it kind of feeds into my affinity for the steampunk genre and so forth. So I don't know if you could see the connection there.
For people who don't know steampunk, how would you describe it?
Steampunk is a genre of science fiction, I suppose, where you look at you imagine yourself in the middle of the 19th century, before electricity, before gasoline-powered engines.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the world the way it would be 100 years in the future. So it embodies fashion having to do with and art that it involves. A lot of times you'll see people using gears,
Mm-hmm.
meshed gears and mechanisms and steam
Mm-hmm.
pipes, and sometimes and in conjunction with 1850s style clothing. So, for example, I have a top hat, and it has certain mechanisms attached to it. And there's always goggles, because you need to have goggles to keep the steam out of your eyes. And
Oh,
sometimes
wow.
there's dirigibles, like airships. You've heard me talk about airships.
Yeah. I know you have a fascination with airships. Actually, so do I, to a degree. That's great. One of these days, you should come in the studio dressed like that. I think that'd be wonderful. Yeah, but we can talk about that offline. That'd be cool. So, you mentioned H.G. Wells. He's a pretty well-known sci-fi author back in the day. Are there any particular books by him that you like? I know a number of his works have turned into movies, but if we look at his original works, which ones do you like? And
Well, the ones that are sort of related to space travel would be obviously War of the Worlds, which I suppose most people are familiar with. It's been made into a movie several times.
Right.
There's also a book by H.G. Wells. I think it's H.G. Wells, From the Earth to the Moon, where he talks about a trip to the moon in the 1890s. And there's creatures on the moon, and
is it called the first
sort of
men?
I don't want to do any spoilers. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But
Yeah, of course
tell the
not.
whole story.
I think the Time Machine would be another example. I like that one.
Yeah, the Time Machine, that's been done twice.
Right.
There was the one in 1960, 61 time frame with I think Rod Taylor. Is quite good. It was done about 10 years ago, and that one was not really quite as good. But anyway, yeah, H.G. Wells had an apocalyptic vision of the future, view of the future. He lived through World War I, and he had a very pessimistic view. He had some ideas about world government and socialism, and that sort of thing. I think he lived until the end of World War II. I think he died in 1945. So he got to see all those kinds of
Right.
things transpire.
Huh. So,
Certainly an interesting.
another one that you mentioned that came out, I suppose, back in the back in the 60s, 50s, the Forbidden Planet. I wasn't too familiar with that, but it seems like it's
Really?
a classic. Yeah, I'm sorry, I haven't seen many classic sci-fi movies. What do you like about it? And actually, first of all, what is it about?
Okay. Forbidden Planet is, I think it's a 1956 or 57 film, and I don't remember the main star is kind of, I can't remember his name, but he's kind of a mad scientist. His character's name is Morpheus, I think, and he lives alone with his daughter Altair on this planet, and he's visited by he was stranded there in a crash of in a spaceship crash, and he and his daughter are the only two members of the spaceship that survived, and he has built a life for himself, but with his beautiful daughter, he's discovered the technology of the Krell, who is the civilization that existed on that planet were long extinct, millions of years prior. They have a technology that allowed Morpheus to increase the power of his brain. He's a super genius, and it turns out that there's a monster that exists on the planet that tracks down and kind of acts as his alter ego in some respect, and a spaceship from Earth comes to rescue them, and he warns them away. And the story actually is a adaptation of Shakespeare's The Tempest.
I just read
probably hardly anybody knows that.
Yeah.
But that's it's just a nice story. It has to do with psychology, and I don't want to give it away. I don't want to give anything away. I would wreck the story if I really told where the monster came from.
Don't wreck the story. Yeah.
But you must see it. It's in color, like Technicolor. Leslie Nielsen plays. You remember Leslie Nielsen from Airplane and Naked Gun when he was young? Plays a serious part in the film.
What part does he play?
And I can't remember the name of the.
Okay, that's fine.
But it appeals to me. I mean, it's just an interesting. I think it's neat that it adapts Shakespeare to this sci-fi story.
Okay.
We can talk about Shakespeare.
It seems like it's something I would want to watch then. I should catch up on these classic films. Let's just say. So another.
Yeah, it's a classic. The monster is invisible, and he only becomes visible when he's trying to penetrate the force field that the spaceship has set up. And Walt Disney had something to do with the animation that created the monster.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And
then.
Yeah, go on.
No, that's all. I can't tell any more because I'll ruin the story.
No need. Yeah. I don't think you need to say any more regarding that. So another thing, so you mentioned, so when I asked you earlier, you said War of the Worlds, Forbidden Planet, and Contact. Tell me a little bit, or tell us a little bit about Contact, the movie or the book.
Oh, Well, Contact was a book that was written by Carl Sagan in the late. I guess you know who Carl Sagan is.
Yes, Carl Sagan, one of the greatest scientists
Kind of popularizer.
and science popularizers, science
Yeah,
communicator.
he used to be on the Johnny Carson show a lot.
Mhm.
That was kind of like before you were born, but
Thank you. Okay.
yeah. But he wrote this book it was called Contact, and
Right.
it's about a message that's received from radio transmissions from a distant solar system, and it turns out that and Jodie Foster is in it, and she's gorgeous.
All right. Thanks for the commentary. Go on.
And they make contact and they receive this message,
Mm-hmm.
and it turns out that they're repeating back the first TV program. This is kind of a neat thing. And the aliens are sending back this TV program, and it's distorted in a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
so that it involves prime numbers, and that's how they know it's an artificial signal. And they adjust the picture, and it ends up being the first television transmission from, of all things, the 1936 Olympics, broadcast by Nazi Germany.
Yeah, I recall
So
that part in the
they receive
movie.
this, and then they're sending that back, and so the people are kind of outraged. Oh, this is horrible that this is the first transmission that the aliens see. Anyway, the aliens send this instructions for building a machine that creates a wormhole to connect with a distant planet in another solar system. And so that's the story of that. And Jodie Foster is the character who acts as the time-space traveler, and it's a cool story. It's got there's a lot of physics, potential physics. I understand that Kip Thorne,
Mm-hmm.
who is a famous physicist, consulted with Carl Sagan on just exactly how to do the wormhole.
Kip
transport.
Thorne, by the way.
Kip Thorne is active today. He's a professor, I think, at
Caltech.
Stanford.
Caltech. He's
yeah.
a professor at Caltech. He actually was a longtime friend. Is a longtime friend. Well, actually was, since they're both dead now. Carl Sagan and Stephen Hawking. So he was friends with both of them. And he actually won a Nobel Prize in Physics in 2017, along with Rainer Weiss and Barry C. Barish, for decisive contributions to the LIGO detector and the observation of gravitational waves. So
you betcha. Hoorah.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. And I know this is a total kind of detour from sci-fi, but he wrote this really great book on black holes. It's called Black Holes and Time Warps. Have you read it, Leonard?
No, I haven't read that one.
Okay, so it's a gigantic tome by Kip Thorne, and it's called Black Holes and Time Warps. It's pretty popular, published in like 1994. So he goes into obviously talking about black holes and time travel and all sorts of things. It's not terribly math heavy, so I would say it's a popular science book, but only if you have enough patience to read through it. So,
I have patience.
You do. You got plenty of time.
Yeah, I do.
So,
Right.
But yes, it's pretty cool that he was a consultant for Contact, which was prior to the movie. It was a book. So, do you know what inspired Carl Sagan to actually write this book? Was he like thinking something like this would happen?
I think that Carl Sagan was an enthusiast for life and just making contact with life from other other civilizations, extra solar civilizations. He was the inspiration for putting on the Voyager spacecraft.
Mm-hmm.
There are recordings that are gold-plated, aluminized discs that have recordings of voices and so forth, and some directions using distances or distances to pulsars for possibly communicating with a distant civilization that might pick up the Voyager spacecraft, which have left the solar system and
Are you talking
on
about the
their way
golden
to-
record, or are you referring to something else?
No, there's a record and also a plaque that says it starts out with, greetings from planet Earth, and it has all kinds of. It's a phonograph record.
Oh,
And it-
yeah. So I'm looking at the NASA JPL website right now for Voyager, and it says it contains the spoken greetings beginning with Akkadian, which was spoken in ancient Sumer, Sumer, that's in Mesopotamia, about 6,000 years ago, and ends with Wu, W-U, a modern Chinese dialect. Wow, that's pretty cool.
There you are.
And then besides
Yeah.
the sounds of Earth, there's a 90-minute selection of music, including both Eastern and Western classics and a variety of ethnic music. So,
Exactly.
and Carl Sagan, you're right.
I'm not making this stuff up.
No, you're not. I had no idea Carl Sagan was responsible for pushing this forward, though. He said this: the spacecraft will be encountered and the record played only if there are advanced spacefaring civilizations in interstellar space. But the launching of this bottle into the cosmic oceans says something very hopeful about life on this planet. Wow. That's pretty cool. So
You didn't know that, did you?
no, I mean I knew the golden record. I didn't know he was responsible for pushing that forward. And I
Yeah.
didn't know there were like all these languages in there. That's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, I think it starts out with a greeting from Kurt Waldheim, who was the Secretary General of the United Nations at that time in the mid-70s.
Interesting. So, I mean,
Greetings from planet Earth.
I actually want to ask you this. So back to the social implications or whatnot. So Carl Sagan wrote this. He's fairly optimistic, I suppose, about alien contact. It seems these days, I don't know, like aliens seem to be just hell bent on like a lot of the movies that come out. They're not very nice. So is there some kind of attraction to that, like where like humans are like antagonistic or vice versa, or do you think it's more likely to be, I don't know, the something like Contact, say?
I don't know. I think it's more likely that they would ignore us.
Oh, okay.
I just think, or that there aren't any. I'm up for
Right.
the truth being that there aren't any aliens.
Okay.
There just aren't any. We're it. We're up first.
I don't think so, but let's not talk about that right now. So, in terms of, let's go and talk about some of the other things that you brought up, which I found kind of interesting. You were saying about societal commentaries, let's just say. So one of the ones that you brought up, works, was called Silent Sky, which I've never heard of until you informed me.
It's a wonderful story.
What is Silent Sky?
It's a play and a book that I don't recall the author of the book, but it's about a woman scientist, astronomer. It's a true story. Her name is Henrietta Leavitt, and she was very well educated in Massachusetts, and she went to work at the Harvard, and worked for an astronomer named Pickering, studying photographic plates. She was hired as what they call human computer, as it were. And so what she was supposed to do was to examine photographic plates of stars to look for variable stars.
Mm-hmm.
And what she discovered was extremely important to astronomy. You know, people don't appreciate the fact that in the 19th century, our understanding of the universe wasn't clear. You know, whether the Milky Way that our system is in was the entire universe, and that there was knowledge of other galaxies, but they were called they were like nebula. So there was awareness of these things, but nobody understood the distances that were involved. And so what she discovered was a kind of variable star. A variable star is a star whose brightness changes slowly over days and months and changes its brightness at different frequencies depending upon how bright it is.
Right.
And so she was studying, or she was assigned to look at these variable stars in Magellanic Clouds, which are some nearby galaxies that orbit the Milky Way. And what she discovered was that the brighter the variable star was, the slower its period was. And it was used as a kind of yardstick. It was the first time that we were able to see something that would tell us how far away it was based upon how bright it is. Because as you know, you can't tell if something is very close and not very bright, or very, very far, very bright and very far away, or very close and not very bright. And so this allowed a calibration of the distances for the first time. And all of a sudden, within about 5 years, someone else was able to look at other examples of this what's called Cepheid variable star in other parts of the Milky Way, and somebody looked at the Andromeda galaxy, and it's hundreds of thousands of light years away. And so it changed the whole picture of how we understood where we are and the size of the universe. Ultimately, it led to discovery of the Hubble expansion and the notion that we have an expanding universe. And she was just she wasn't really treated extremely well because it's a patriarchal time in the late 19th and early 20th century, and women, she was just, not thought of. Although I think that they did think pretty well of her, she for that time.
Mm-hmm.
And you can read the paper that talks about this, and Pickering is the author of the paper, but the first sentence in the paper is, hey, Miss Leavitt wrote all of this. Or, he credits, in the first sentence of the paper, he says, read this because, this is what she wrote. And it's a scientific paper with several figures, and it explains the Cepheid variable and the importance of it and the importance that it lends to being a yardstick and opening up the ability to measure distances in the universe. Very, very important.
The Silent Sky, that's a play, right? And that is based on her life?
It's based on her life. She had a lot of health problems and the difficulties of being in that kind of world with men, and yet she was extremely bright. And it's also kind of a nice story, but she died pretty young. I think she had cancer and died at age 53. I think in about 1921. So
Wow,
she
you
didn't-
you know the
I-
years pretty well. I mean, I'm confirming that by looking at Wikipedia. So
I know. I'm a freak of nature. I remember stuff like that. I
so apparently there's you are a freak of nature. I'm not going to argue there. So there's a crater on the moon named after her, which is kind of cool.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Um,
I didn't know that.
Leavitt, Leavitt, crater on the far side of the
Leavitt,
moon.
Yeah.
So she's also deaf. Did you say that?
Oh, I think she got sick. If I remember correctly, she probably had like, some virus or something that affected her hearing. I think that happened a few years before she made the discovery. She wasn't completely deaf.
Okay. Huh. So all right. That's interesting. Did not. Okay. So she.
Yeah. So
Huh.
anyway, it's a play. So let's find out when the play is. I've seen the play. I don't remember when I saw the play.
Where did you see the play?
I can't remember. I don't know whether it was my kids' high school or some. I cannot remember. I know that sounds funny, but I've seen it was in Houston. In my town here, but I don't remember. But I have seen the play.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I mean, I will see if there's that play that's playing somewhere. I will definitely. You let me know, and I will let you know, and I will let everyone know. So
Yeah. Maybe we could produce it. Maybe we could hold auditions, and I could be the director.
That'd be funny. So, you said she worked as a computer, right? Back then?
A human computer, yeah.
A human computer. So, essentially, this was back in the day where we didn't have electronic computers. Is that what it is? I guess these.
Yeah. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess the scientists would hire people to do tedious calculations, and so what she was doing was she was taking the photographic plates and using some calibration techniques to measure the apparent size of the star,
right,
relative to the background, and it would change from week to week. And so she was measuring those. I think she did about 24 of those is what she published, but she ended up studying, over 1,000 of these Cepheid variables. And then eventually other people noticed it. I mean, I'm sure it was really probably pretty big news because it was an important discovery.
No, for sure. That kind of reminds me of the more recent movie Hidden Figures, where they're also computers and they're women. And they're
I love that movie. I didn't read the book or anything, but I love that movie. Yeah,
me too. I mean, it seems like in some ways a similar story, like 50 or 60 years after Miss Leavitt here, and essentially women doing remarkable things. I guess computers were not human computers were not considered very esteemed, let's just say. So, so Leonard, you said you like that movie. What do you like about it?
I just like the fact that people were behaving decently. They were behaving. My understanding from reading about it that it there was a lot of I guess people need to know what the movie is about, right?
I think most people know what the movie is about. It's I'm pretty sure. Like
everybody knows what it was about. Hidden Figures.
I mean, this is like one of the biggest blockbusters. So yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, I mean, so it's African American woman, who's in the kind of like the segregation time, or really kind of toward the end of that in 1961, working for NASA, right? And so it's kind of like, gee, I got to go to the other. I got to go halfway across the campus to go to the bathroom because I can't use the bathroom where the white people go, and you know, it kind of makes you angry.
Yeah, it made me angry.
But I think one of the neat scenes is that, you know, all the white boys are standing around the chalkboard trying to figure out some kind of calculation, and they're all stumped. And so she comes in and she says, Euler's method. Let's use Euler's method. And
wow,
so,
nice voice.
You know, Euler's method actually is a thing. That's for computing differential equations, for calculating the answer to differential equations.
Right.
Using a numerical technique, and so that's
yeah, it's first order, first degree differential equations. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Leonard, hold your thought. We got to take a break. When we come back, let's finish this conversation. Cool.
Okie dokie.
All right. We'll be right back.
All right.
Man, you still here? Go on and subscribe.
Get into action. Yo, we back at it again, baby.
What?
Get into action.
3.
Get into action.
Tell me what is the deal, tell me what is the deal.
So I challenge you today to start strong.
Get in the action.
Tell me what is the deal. Cause I'm calling for you.
Get in the action.
Can you feel that? Yeah. See, I'm calling for you. Can you feel that? Yeah. See, I'm calling for you. Can you feel that? Yeah. See, I'm calling for you. Say how you really feel.
When the 7 trumpets sound, we gon' start the revolution. When we turn up, we shut it down. We are skywalkers. The spheres of my Kabbalah, illuminated properly in sight, shows the man in universe and the creator's gift of life. When the earth collides with every piece of star from afar, there's a higher probability they'll find out what we are. Trapped in time and space, lost in this dimension. 7 sins committed daily. Never did I fail to mention this the rapture. I capture every piece of star power with this.
Okay, so we are back. You're listening to SG2 on Space, episode number 56. If you're watching live, this is going to be the last episode this year, and we'll be back in January, assuming you're listening live, January 2020. For clarification here. So, facebook.com/The Shen Show, SG2 on Space. You can find it on YouTube as well. So I'm talking with Leonard here. Today's theme was on essentially what people dreamed about in terms of sci-fi and space. So we went over a number of things, including H.G. Wells' work. We talked about. Hey Leonard, what else did we talk about?
Oh, we talked about hidden figures and Silent Sky.
Forbidden
which
Planet.
Are probably
yes. Forbidden Planet. I remember now.
Forbidden
Contact. Silent Sky, which is actual
we didn't
biopic.
talk about. Hey, we didn't talk about The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Actually, I was hoping to get to some of the other ones with our few minutes. So, The Day the Earth Stood Still. That's pretty much a classic, right? It came out in 1951. Was there another version made recently? I forget.
Yeah, but it had Keanu Reeves, and it was like ecology and that kind of thing. The first one is the one that's really of more importance.
So,
I mean, if you watch these things, you get a feel for what people were thinking about at that time. You know, like The Day the Earth Stood Still, it had Michael Rene, who plays the alien who comes from some other planet, and he comes with this iconic robot called Gort, right? And Patricia Neal is a female character who's has a little boy who. Well, anyway, yeah. So what happens is the alien comes down. He comes out. He's got a helmet on. He looks scary when he comes out of the spaceship, and the army has surrounded him. And so he starts to take some kind of peace offering out from his pocket, and they shoot him. Right. So he's shot, and then they take him to the hospital. And, but there's some like almost religious themes. He's there to warn Earth that you keep fooling around with nuclear weapons and with nuclear power, and you're gonna start using them to travel to other planets, using as propulsion to travel to other planets. You guys got to settle down, simmer down. You're too warlike and so there's these themes of the fear of the underlying theme has to do with communism and the free world versus the communist world and the tension in the Cold War at that time, and you can see that in the dialogue, about the things that people are afraid of. And
that's
so the main character played by Michael Rene, who's the alien, he looks just like a nice looking. He looks like Michael Rene.
He looks like a human.
He actually was human. I mean, they explained that the aliens came to Earth, thousands of years prior, and took some of the humans and used he was like an artificial human in some respect, but his name was Carpenter. So there's some religious themes. Carpenter was the profession of Jesus. I'm not really all into that, but there's some of that kind, and also they killed him. They tried to kill him. Actually, well, I don't want to give away anything.
Yeah.
I did, but ultimately they do kill him. But,
wow, you just gave it away, Leonard. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I shouldn't have done that, but I don't.
Thanks.
It doesn't really take too much. Go ahead and watch it, because you'll with the mind toward thinking about what people were afraid of in the audience that was watching this movie. They were afraid of the hydrogen bomb. They were afraid of communism, and so I like that. I like the historical clues that you can pick up.
Right. So
do the same thing.
The Day the Earth Stood Still. Okay. Hey, Leonard. With a few minutes remaining, before I briefly talk about this alien thing, which I found interesting. What is your since the 2019 is ending? What has been your favorite sci-fi TV show or movie this year?
Oh, I have to think about that. This year?
Yeah.
Well, does it have to be a sci-fi show?
What are you thinking of?
Oh, well, I mean, I like some stuff that I watch on Prime. There's a show called The Marvelous Miss Mazal, but it doesn't have anything to do with space or anything like that. It's a comedy. It's really funny.
The Marvelous Miss Maisel. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, does that have anything to do with space? No, it doesn't. No, never mind.
It doesn't have anything to do with space, but I like it.
That's funny.
I saw Midway, the movie Midway a few weeks ago. I can't think of any sci-fi.
Did you see Ad Astra? I haven't seen it.
No, I haven't seen that.
Okay. There was also a Chinese movie a sci-fi movie called The Wandering Earth that was supposedly pretty good.
Oh,
Haven't seen it
I
yet.
heard about that. Yeah.
So have you heard of IO? IO? No? Okay.
No, if I have, because I'm getting kind of old, so my short-term memory's probably going. But no, I haven't heard of IO.
Okay, that's fine. I actually haven't really heard of either. So I mean, there's a bunch out there that comes out. Anyways, that's all right. What was there?
I mean,
Yeah.
well, I was gonna say, about books and things like when I've read probably most of what Isaac Asimov has written. So I recommend Isaac Asimov. He had a trilogy called Foundation.
I highly recommend that as well to anybody listening. You know what?
Foundation.
What's that?
That's all. Yeah. No.
Have you, Leonard? Have you read Nightfall? I think you would really like it, by Isaac Asimov.
Actually, no, I haven't.
Okay.
I did see him speak. I saw Asimov speak in about 1981 when I was in college.
I was gonna say, because you're a very much a physics nerd, I think you would really enjoy Nightfall, and I will briefly explain it to our audience here. So essentially, what it is was there's this other alien planet, okay, and think of them as about the same technology level as early 20th century. So general relativity, by the way, has not been uncovered, so they're still following like Newtonian, their equivalent of Newtonian mechanics. The weird thing about them is that their world has 6 suns, so that star system has 6 suns, so none of them has ever seen nighttime, and the darkness scares them. In fact, it freaks them out. Like, it destroys their civilization. Like, every couple thousand years it happens, and then apparently there's one that's coming. And one of their scientists discovered that thing is coming, the dark. So, anyways,
that sounds cool.
It is pretty cool. So
yeah, I have read. There are stories by Arthur Clarke that I've written that are similar to that, about a planet that has a locked. Its rotation is locked to its sun, so it has its day on one side and night on the other side. And the people live on the day side, and they haven't ever been to the night side. I don't remember the name of the story though.
If you find out, let me know. That sounds really interesting. I'm really intrigued by these alien worlds. So,
Arthur Clarke also wrote a couple books. One of them was called Rendezvous with Rama and Return of Rama, and it's about a space probe, a robot space probe with super advanced artificial intelligence that communicates with the Earth, and they come through. That's a kind of a neat thing.
That is a kind of neat thing.
Yeah.
So briefly, with the 2 minutes I have remaining, I'll spend 1 minute and talk about these mysterious blinking lights in the night sky. So normally I have like a 5-minute segment on alien stuff, but I'll talk about this since I found it really cool. So this is a vanishing and appearing sources during a century of observations VASCO project, VASCO, which is led by Stockholm University of Sweden. So what did they do? They looked at over 600 million objects in the sky, all right, all through the last 100 years of, astronomical observation, and they whittle it down to just 100 objects that are weird. In other words, those objects in space simply disappeared or rapidly fluctuated in brightness, and no idea why. Okay, so the strangest ones are the ones that just vanished, and also ones that like flare across several orders of magnitude. All right, so and this is all really strange. Nobody has explanation why, and some people think, okay, maybe it's a techno signature, right? Possible alien.
I'm open to it.
Yeah. So,
I'm ready.
Yeah, that is so weird. So if you're interested, I'm talking about not just Leonard, but anybody really, you can go to their website at VASCO. That's VASCO. Vascon, VASCONSITE. So vasconsite.wordpress.com, and it has details on those objects, and you can contact them and possibly do your own research. So that'd be pretty cool.
Cool.
Already sent it to you, Leonard, but assuming I have more time, I will look into it as well. So with that, all right, we got like no time left. 1 minute left.
Oh no!
What
It went
can
by
I say
so
in 1
fast.
minute? Leonard, do you want to say something? You got 20 seconds.
I just say something. Just well, you always sign off with something like, keep looking up in the sky because Lucy's there with diamonds, or what is it that you say when you sign off? You better do it.
I better do it. You're right. So thank you everybody for listening to SG2.
I never get it right.
Thank you. That's why I asked you, because it's funny. So SG2 in Space, episode number 56. Thanks everybody for listening. Facebook.com/The Shin Show. Follow me if you haven't. Go on YouTube, SG2 in Space. Support me, patreon.com, patreon.com/SG2 on Space. I'll be back in 2 weeks. So happy holidays, everyone. And don't forget, look up, because you never know what you will see. What you might see.
Oh, that's it.
That is
Hoorah.
it. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Merry Christmas,
Thanks,
Happy
Leonard.
New Year, and Happy Solar Solstice, and all that good stuff. Bye.
Yes, exactly. Winter solstice, December 22nd. All right.
Peace, it's Brother Atum Ra, and you tuned in to Action One Network.
You still here? Go on and subscribe.
Get into action. Yo, we back at it again, baby.
What?
Get into action.
Say your ex-man call